we are going to talk about the long and fascinating history of Byzantine astrology. And here we are. These are the Byzantines. Because it's a mystery. We don't know what Byzantium is and who are the Byzantines. Right on, you can see their faces. They are a little bit Mediterranean, a little bit Greek, a little bit Italian. So they are a mix. I would like to clarify something. This is part one because it was indeed long, and the history of Byzantine astrology, I couldn't fit it in a lecture, in a talk. So that's part one, because Byzantium is huge. It's about 1,000 years history, and it's early Byzantium, middle Byzantium, late Byzantium, and I couldn't fit the whole history, so I had to start with something. I'm going to start with part one, which is fascinating as well. So let's start right now and see the mysterious Byzantines. All right, some info on Byzantium. Many people call it the Eastern Roman Empire today, but this is a misleading term, and I will explain you why. The Byzantines were far more Greeks than they were Romans. And Byzantium lasted for more than 1,000 years. It was founded by a guy who was a genius somehow. Many people call him a murderer because he assassinated his son anyway, and his wife, his ex-wife, I believe. But, geniuses are crazy people often, and Constantine the Great was a genius and a crazy guy as well. He founded the city of Constantinople in 330 of our current era, and the great city of Constantinople finally fell to the invading, marauding, nomadic Ottoman Turks in 1453 current era. By the way, do you know where Byzantium was? The area of Byzantium? It's the same area of modern Turkey. Turkey was not always here in this niche of the Mediterranean. Where Turkey stands today, Byzantium stood for 1,000 years before the invasion of the Ottoman Turks. So let's see this map. This is the map of the mighty Roman Empire. But the Roman Empire was huge, and it was becoming polarized empire. It was tearing apart. It was dividing. The tetrarchy, the four emperors, strange things. It used to have one emperor, and by the 3rd century, 4th century of our current era, it had 4 emperors. Something was going really wrong for the Roman Empire to need 4 emperors. Anyway, you see this map. On the left is the western half of the Mediterranean, and somehow geometrically, there is a division in the Mediterranean in 2 halves. The western half, the burgundy color, is the truly Western Roman Empire. The violet part, the eastern part of the Roman Empire, is the Eastern Roman Empire, which coincides with the Hellenistic world, because before the Roman Empire, that was the area of the Hellenistic world. And remember this word, Hellenistic word, is the word where Hellenistic astrology was born, right? So the violet area corresponds to the Hellenistic word, and this is important. You will realize why it is important here. We have the Latin poet Horace saying this ditto: Graecia capta ferum victorem cepit, et artes sintulit agresti Latio. The conquered Greece took captive her savage conqueror and brought the arts into rustic Latium. Latium means Rome, Italy. So a very Latin poet is telling us that Latium, Rome, Italy, was rustic, primitive somehow. And Greece introduced the arts, science in Rome. And that's true because uh, the Roman aristocrats were speaking Greek. It was a sign, a posh thing to do. If you wanted to be posh back in the Roman period, you had to speak Greek. The doctors were mainly Greek. The engineers were mainly Greek in the Roman Empire. Of course, the astrologers were, many of the astrologers were Greeks, like Thrasylos, Balbelos, and many, many, many others. So the so-called Roman Empire, it was imbued, permeated by the Greek culture. That's why they call it the Greek-Roman civilization. But in my opinion, it wasn't that Roman. Romans were very good soldiers, very good organizers, but they were leaving much to be desired regarding culture, spiritual activities, thinking, philosophy. Greece was much more advanced. That's why there is this huge division. The violet color marks the Hellenistic world, and right onto that violet area, Byzantium was founded. Byzantium extended to that very violet area. So it was somehow, Byzantium was somehow the continuation of the Hellenistic world. I mean, even during the Roman times, within this violet area, people were speaking more Greek than Latin. I mean, if you had Roman soldiers in Greece or Asia Minor, Anatolia, that was the area that's called today Turkey. It was called Anatolia or Asia Minor. If you were to meet Roman soldiers over there, most probably they would speak Greek rather than Latin. So you have to change a little bit your idea about Romanity, what a Roman is, because in this area, yes, there were Roman soldiers and prefects, Romans, and people in the local administrations, but most probably they spoke more Greek than Latin because that was the Greek word. It was an Hellenized word, and the Greek was the English of today. If you wanted to communicate with other people in this area in particular, you had to speak Greek, not that much Latin. Forget the Burgundy area, the western part of the Mediterranean. There, most probably, you needed Latin. That's why Spain today speaks a language that is Latin in its descent, and France. So you needed the Latin language there in the Burgundy western area, but not that much in the violet area.